about this.
What up, though? Welcome to Teacher Talk Podcast, Episode 3, Public versus Private Education. I am your host, Tori J. Anderson, the trillest English teacher in all of the land. Today, I am joined with two very special guests. I guess I will let you guys introduce yourself individually. You can just maybe say your name. Just tell us if you attended a public or private school.
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Laura. I attended both. I did public school for high school, and I did private school for elementary and middle.
No shame. I went to private school for K through 2.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Quincy, and I attended public schools.
Team Public in the house. All right. Today's topic, once again, is public versus private. Before I begin, let me just shamelessly plug myself. You can find our podcast episodes at www.teachingittrill.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at teachingittrill. With that being said, let's get into it. So today's topic, public versus private, a triggered conversation, was sparked by a recent interview on the New York radio show, The Breakfast Club, featuring rapper, actor, and activist Killer Mike. On that episode, Killer Mike and DJ Envy got into a very heated conversation about public and private schools, to the point where I felt very, very attacked. Well, I wouldn't say attacked. I just felt something deep in my soul and in my spirit said, we got to talk about this. And so here we are. But before we get into our discussion, I kind of created a game. So each of my guests has a little card that says public or private. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go down a list of just criteria or just things, and you can just hold up public or private, whichever one you think has the best. So, for example, school lunch. And I might ask you to expand upon that. So you guys probably can't see us, but we all held up private. And so just like with Black Card Revoked, the majority rules, rules. And, normally I would say, okay, if you lose, you got to take a shot or you got to take a drink, but I'm not going to force my guests to drink. However, I will. Sips beverage shamelessly. It's the first day of spring break. I have no shame in my game. I earned every sip.
I can dig it.
All right. So let's get into it. Academic reputation, public or private? Which do you think has the better academic reputation amongst the American people? We all said private. Anybody want to expand upon why? Here's your chance to let it all out.
With private, I've always had this mentality that you get what you pay for. So you're paying for technically like a service. I know you pay taxes for public school, but only a portion of those taxes will go to the actual school. Mm-hmm. However, when you do private, your tuition goes to the school, period. Mm-hmm. So you get what you pay for.
Do you think because of that, private school parents might be a little bit more involved in their students' lives because they're actually paying for the education?
So it could go either way, because when my kids' godparents, their kids go to public schools, mm-hmm. and they've had some awful ones in some cities, and the school was like very low graded. Mm-hmm. However, that child excelled and was accepted into some of the other best schools within the city because the parent made sure her presence was known.
Okay.
So I think that could go either way for a private school or a public school, as long as the parent makes their. Yeah.
That's a true story. What about you?
Boils down to class size, number one. Like private schools, class size is usually smaller. And it's the whole argument against renters versus people who are buying a home. When you people look at people who go to the public school as more like renters, and they look at the people who go to private school as homeowners. And you care a little bit more about, a lot more if you're a homeowner, about how your grass is kept and everything else. And the perception is that those in public school are a little bit looser than that.
Okay, that's an amazing analogy. I'm an English teacher. I appreciate a good analogy. All right, college preparation, public or private? This is so biased. Oh, okay, we got one public, two privates, one public. Let's hear the public out.
I think that as a teacher of art, I teach music, and as an artist, I think most of the kids who come out in terms of art and sports, in those two areas, do much better, and they're much better prepared because there's no marching bands or there's no lot of that as far as private school, or not even a jazz band, not a band at all. Sometimes it's not even offered in private school at all.
Good point. Yeah.
And
I never even thought about that.
And it's about the arts too. And when we ever think about education, it's always there's a linear approach to thinking about education. When in fact, the arts are just as important. Sports, important too. And then there's the other arts, just not besides the performing arts, but there's the literary arts. There's all the other kind of arts. There's theatrical arts. I think kids come out of the public schools, first of all, because they're exposed to the community. The
More
community
well-rounded?
the community involves themselves in public schools more than a private school.
Whereas private
schools
is very
are almost,
private.
Yeah, they're very private. They're unapproachable,
Yep.
gated communities where a public school is more open to letting artists who come in from to do workshops and. It's just, I think public school prepares, it all depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about math, maybe, I don't know.
So STEM maybe in a private
maybe,
school.
Maybe, but as far as all around, generally speaking, I think public school prepares you just as well, if not better. Than
So
private.
more well-rounded
Yeah.
kids are prepared for
Yeah.
public schools.
Yeah.
Okay. College prep, I'm going to say private just because I think that students who might attend a private school probably get a little bit more test prep, focused test prep than public school students. At a private school, they might have Kaplan as a part of their curriculum. They might have actual Kaplan instructors or College Board instructors. They might have entire SAT prep courses, or not to mention, parents who probably pay for their students to attend private school.
And smaller class sizes again.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Might
and
have 10 students in a class. That's it.
a lot of people undervalue the importance of a class size, but going
Size
from
matters. Even in the classroom.
Size
Lord
does-
have mercy.
Size definitely matters, no
Yeah,
matter
it does,
what
I
anybody
guess.
tells you. But even going from a classroom where I had 30 students on average, and I think I have very strong classroom management, but going from a classroom of 30 to where I have a classroom of 19, there's a difference in, just everyday instruction. I'm able to see more. I'm able to do more. I'm able to interact with my students more based on that class size. However, I do think as far as college prep, when it comes to test prep, private schools might have the advantage just because they might have the additional funding, the money to pay for just additional test prep opportunities. So yeah,
I feel the same
you don't
way.
have to speak to it. Just letting you know.
No, I feel the exact same way as you, Tori. When I was in high school, I had a choice to either go to a private school or a public school. I played basketball, so they told me like you'll get more scholarships and you'll get looked at better if you go to a public school. Okay, so I did that. Went to a public school. Grades were great, but I stopped playing basketball, and then it's like okay,
Defeats the whole point.
it kind of did. Then when I looked back on it, I'm like, wow, I should have went to the private school because I think I would have been better prepared for college. So it's, just depends on what that person is looking for. But in the long run, I think I would have done better for the next level if I would have went to that private school.
Okay. We already touched on this school size and class size. We already know that private schools are trumping public schools with class size and school size. I mean, the name in itself speaks volumes, right? Private being, not many, public for everybody. Safety or reputation?
Want the good or the bad?
Who has the best? Which is safer? Private. So private schools are a little bit safer than public schools. Anybody want to speak to that? Or because a lot of these. So, for example, safety and reputation, special programs though.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about where that public school is. If you're talking about public schools and mostly suburban or rural white districts, it's not safe. because the majority of the school shootings and overwhelming majority of the school shootings where little Bert comes in with his daddy's fatigues on and his M16 that he stole out of his gun safe and came and shot up the whole school. That doesn't happen in inner cities.
That's true.
So when you talk about safety,
Ironically enough,
when you talk about safety, we have to have a real courageous and honest conversation about all that. And that goes back, and that even goes back to outside of the schools. It goes back to period. Who are your most of the people who are blowing shit
that's
up,
just America.
killing people? So,
Yeah.
I would say I'd feel safer at the school that I teach at
with
which
the metal detectors.
well, there's no metal detectors there, but I feel safer because
my school got
in
metal
those other schools, those suburban or rural schools, that's where the mass shootings are. Now, on the other,
Let's knock on some wood.
on the other
We
hand,
don't need that kind of smoke in
on
the
the
Metro
other
Detroit
hand,
area.
on the other hand, outside the school where the drive-by shootings are going on, and so safety outside the school, when
Yeah.
you walk out in the hood, you might get got,
Yeah.
as they say, but inside the school, normally no.
Ironically enough,
Yeah, so
public
it's,
schools, urban public schools, might be a little safer
What do you want? Good grammar or good taste? As they say.
regarding school shootings and things like that than their suburban and rural counterparts. That's irony at its finest.
Yeah, the worst.
I wanted to think, when I think about safety, I do think about how likely is it that there's an incident, right? Any kind of incident that occurs, and in education, we say incidents. We don't say fight or shooting. We just say incidents. Fill out the incident report or fill out the form or no, let's call it what it is. It's a fight, or somebody got shot, or somebody's parent came up and they're threatening to beat up so-and-so.
Incident is sanitizing.
Yeah.
It's a very sanitizing, cleansing, Mr. Clean Pine Sol word to use.
Special programs. So I'm talking about extracurriculars. We do know that in public education, them cutting the arts out and eliminating the arts is a major problem. It's a major concern, but we also know that the lack of emphasis on the arts in private schools is also of concern. So, I guess we can kind of skip over that, or you guys want to talk to that?
Well, other than the fact that most people who attend a kid at private school are not sending them there to
sing and paint and dance.
to play jazz or to paint or dance. They send them there, to go to Dartmouth or go wherever they want to go, to Brown or wherever they want to go.
I think about in the movies or in books that I read, when there's a rich or a well-off family and their prodigy decides they want to be an artist or a dancer, and they basically lose their shit. Yo, how dare you want to become an artist? Why don't you want to become a doctor? And I'm just what's wrong with becoming an artist? Is it that nobody in America values the arts, public or private? That's a whole nother episode or a whole nother
I got a lot
topic.
of friends who go by the name Dr. So-and-so. These just happen to have a doctorate in music.
Yeah.
So you can be a doctor.
Exactly. Wayne State has a PhD in reading and literature. I'm still going to I'm thinking of applying, and I'm going to still be an asshole and make people call me doctor. Just in case they decide to say, you're not a real doctor.
As you should.
No, yeah, I'm a real doctor.
Yes.
It's the same difference.
Well, I'm proud of being called an asshole without being a doctor. But
Costs, which is more affordable. We know public schools are more affordable because
we're already paying for them.
they're free.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with free. Private school costs, I think, are ridiculous because some people pay the amount for college tuition and private school tuition before their kids even graduate from the 12th grade. You just spent a whole 5-year tuition cost just to make sure your student didn't go to school with public school students. I'd be interested in seeing how much actually private schools, how much the DeVos family spent on their kids' tuition, because their kids ain't going to public schools. Religious and moral instruction, which, we know legally public schools can't.
Yeah.
They can't. So, of course, private schools trump that. So let's say you're a family and that's important to you. Religious and moral instruction. Location.
Pause. So I lived in Utah for
Yeah.
god awful 3 or 4 years.
Are you a Mormon?
I'm definitely not.
Okay.
I'm black.
Can you be black and be a Mormon?
Yes.
Wait, this isn't hate speech, is it? Okay. Just wanna-
No, you got a
wanna
long way to go before you get to hate speech.
All right.
So I could answer that. I'll do that off the air though. But in Utah, they teach their religion in their public school. That was
Well, I guess it's a state thing, state by state, huh?
yeah.
The Nation of Islam has schools. They teach Islam. I mean,
Yeah, but that's the Nation of Islam. So I'll be more open to sending my child to a school for a Nation of Islam versus a Mormon school.
that's because you're black.
It's not really
Right.
so much that teaching religion is not okay. It's promoting one religion over the other that is the actual problem.
Got it.
Yeah, because I've
Makes a lot
taught
of
religion in
sense.
my classes, but what I teach is what they're about.
Yeah.
Not what you should believe. Of course, certain things speak for themselves.
Or
I
which
don't
is
have to
better,
say. You
or
know,
which is-
once
like-
I teach you history, if I teach you the proper history without the religion, then you talk about the religion. Then you know what time it is.
That's true.
Yeah.
Some things you can't really teach without mentioning religion.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like the Crusades.
History in general, you can't teach without.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't teach American
You can't
lit
talk about
without.
war. You can't talk
Yeah.
about anything.
None of it.
You
Yeah.
can't teach American literature without
religion
talking
is at
about
the
religion,
basis of all of that
because
shit.
That's what started it. Yeah.
that's why we're here, because of religion. Well, not why I'm here. You know why? You know why we're here.
No. Yes, you are here because of religion too.
Well, yeah, that too. Look,
Yeah. They had to make Christians out of us.
good Christians.
Slaves, be obedient to your masters as
passive
unto the
Christians.
Lord.
All right, I'm going to skip location and ideology. Quality teachers. So in the Breakfast Club interview, DJ Envy, and this is kind of why I was so up. We got somebody chiming in. Somebody said religion is used for historical perspectives. Religion can be used, or religion is used for a historical perspective in public schools. Definitely so. Especially with history and literature and just pretty much anything. But
His
definitely history and
story.
English. Quality teachers. So DJ Envy kind of touched upon this. He said, and I don't know, I don't want to misquote him, if anybody can help me kind of paraphrase this. He said that public school teachers are overworked, underpaid,
And basically no good teachers.
and there are very few good teachers
Yeah.
in public schools. And that is kind
That
of
was the
what
inference.
Yep, that's what I inferred. That's the conclusion I drew.
Yeah, me too.
And that's what sparked this whole entire conversation. That's why I titled it A Triggered Conversation, because for me, that triggered me. Because I know some amazing public school teachers. I know some bomb-ass public school teachers. I had great public
Two
school
of them are
teachers.
sitting in here right now.
Hey!
Shit.
I had amazing public school teachers, and for somebody to make a statement like that about public school teachers, for me, that made me feel some kind of way. Not only because of what he said, but because I know that's a popular opinion.
It's a bougie ass
it's-
Uncle Tom statement. Is what it is. He's a bougie ass Uncle Tom statement.
So I want to take a moment and I want to talk about that. Not even whether you believe public or private schools have the better quality teachers, but I want to kind of talk about. Oh, I'm sorry. I kind of want to talk about why do you think the public has that perception that private school teachers are better than public school teachers when, you know, in most cases they have the same credentials, same education level.
And they're underpaid. Private school teachers don't make what we make.
because they're not unionized.
Right.
Ding, ding,
They
ding.
don't make
Yeah.
what we make, so they're underpaid.
Proud union thug here. Proud union thug.
You're 100% right. My 4 years in a public school, I can name several bomb teachers at the high school, and that they made me who I am.
My
to be
elementary
able to
schools
voice.
was the bomb.
It was, but
Junior high.
but I had issues in elementary,
Middle
and
school was a blur.
Well, we all did. 'Cause we were all assholes. I mean, look at. I'm teaching junior high school students now. I mean, that's a.
God bless you on that one.
Yeah.
I feel so sorry
Definitely.
for my teachers back then, because I can imagine how I was.
Like, I'm gonna go buy you a bottle just because you teach in middle school. Cause
But I also think that
I'm open to that.
when we think, I think that the reason why people think that public school teachers or private school teachers are better is because people automatically equate private with better. They automatically equate
It's a gated
rich,
community.
right? They automatically equate rich with better.
Gated.
And that they are very surprised when there are quality teachers in public education. Like I said, I know so many quality educators. All right.
Well, I see the differences in many ways. It's gonna sound really whatever, but that's the difference between like a public firefighter and the little private firefighters who ride around their little truck that they got and they put a little thing on the top. I'm a private firefighter. I'm a private mall cop. I think public school teachers are far better because we have to deal with so much more. And still deliver a quality product all the time. And I'm not putting down private school teachers. Well, in a way I am, because it's like,
Well, we can't put them down for their choices. They chose to teach private,
Yeah.
but don't say that we're not as good or that we're, because
well, that's
most
my
cases, we're better.
retaliatory response to that. That's a retaliatory response because the stuff we deal with and still able to deliver, and we're social workers, we're psychologists, we're parents. You don't see kids in private teachers in private school buying their own stuff or buying clothes for this kid who came in that day, wasn't smelling too good, or been wearing the same clothes for 5 days, and you want to help them out.
You don't have to.
Yeah. So we're all around. We're just not just we do everything.
Public school teachers, I feel as a public school teacher, I have more. Let me word this correctly. Hate having to be politically correct. Sometimes I just want to say shit.
Well, I heard you can say shit on here. I mean, that's what my man said over here. So why don't you say some shit?
I feel that my students deal with more. I was just talking to my aunt today about one of her students who's pregnant, and it may be, but it's by a family member because she's being sexually abused. Child Protective Services, DPCD, DPS is all over that. So, there's no mandated reporting criteria here. Not saying that private school students don't have to deal with those kind of things. It's just that students who attend school in a public school system. So let's think about the socioeconomic status of public school students. Urban public school students. So you got levels, right? You got suburban and you got urban, or suburban and rural students. And then you got urban students who are dealing, and, urban is kind of interchangeable and synonymous with black and brown. Let's keep it 100. These kids are dealing with so much shit on an everyday level. And they still show up to come to school, and they might be assholes, and they might be jerks, and they might be acting out, and they might not want to do what it is that you want them to do because they got so much other shit on their plate. Mind you, the teacher has to deal with that. I still got to find a way to mold this. Whereas a private school teacher, you might not have to deal with the fact that your student can't focus because they hungry. Or your student doesn't come to school because they don't have clean clothes. Why? Because your student's pulling up in the parking lot with a car that's newer than yours. True story.
Yeah, but the antithesis of that would be that sometimes Jimi Hendrix said something really cool once. He said, they were talking about how much money Jimmy was making. He said, sometimes the more money you make, the more blues you can sing.
Yeah.
And so when you talk
More money, more
about
problems.
these kids are coming up in these nice cars and they're getting dropped off, they might be hooked on Oxycontin.
Most definitely hooked on
They're getting
Oxy.
high off methamphetamine. They're depressed. They're committing suicide. Okay, so
they got their own set of issues,
So
too.
the perception that these kids have, because they have money, that they're not facing problems now, it's just not true. And you look at some of these other rural schools and suburban schools, these kids are depressed as hell.
They got their own set of issues.
And right. So I mean, it spreads around.
So is it safe to
ours
say
is
that?
unique though in the urban setting because ours are dealing with, on top of that, poverty, compounded by poverty, compounded by living in a racist system.
So they got regular high school, teenage, emotional depression and personal issues on top of being poor, and on top of being a part of a system that is, systematically
Against
racist.
Yeah, you got to put your head down,
Look, I'm
look
like,
down just to say the word
it's
racist.
systematically racist. Teacher diversity, public or private, which has the greater teacher diversity? Public schools. Although teacher diversity nationally is still very, very low. I had statistics, but I hate being one of those people that says research says.
Why not?
But because you don't want to be one of those. Well, I don't want to be one of those facts type of people. That's like annoying. Like always.
Well, facts are annoying. That's the problem with this damn the country now. What? I can't believe you said that one. Please say some facts, please. It'll be refreshing.
Just like representation of minority teachers in retrospect to the minority student population in the country. So I think minority students in public education, I think they're at 50% or close to almost 50% of public education. So that's students of color, all students of color. Whereas teachers of color are under 10%.
awful.
That's a problem.
Okay, but what are the roots of that? Some of that is the fact that
Oh, I know. What the problem?
many of us are not going into teaching. Number one, because
We're not going into teaching.
it sucks because
Low
it
pay.
doesn't pay much, and then you got student loan. I'm at least 80 grand in. You got
80.
yes,
I wish.
yeah, I got 80, and on top of that, all the things that they deal with, and then so. A lot of people are not going into teaching. And on top of that, what I see is an overrepresentation of white females is what I see.
And that's what it is.
And I see
It's the whole
that and
savior
dealing with
complex.
young, and then Kwanzaa Kunjufu wrote many books about the conspiracy to destroy black children. All these books he wrote. And they deal with the fact that the white females have come with preconceived notions, generally speaking, not all, generally speaking, about young black males. Because when a young black male gets to be around in the 7th or 8th grade, he's starting to let his nuts hang.
Feeling himself.
Yeah, no, he letting his nuts hang. When he lets his nuts hang in a cultural way that she's not used to, she thinks that is oppositional defiant disorder.
Threatening,
Which they done put
hostile.
that in the diagnostic statistical manual as oppositional defiant disorder.
Now
What
we
kind
wanna,
of shit is that?
Now we want to slap an IEP on him.
Yeah, right. There you go. Now
And
you with
label
me.
him for the rest of
Only because this brother told her, there's this young kid who don't know any better, when teacher told him to sit down in a way he didn't like, he said, oh, fuck you. Now he's got oppositional defiant disorder. Now he got an IEP. Now he's on that pipeline to prison.
Yep. But I read
That's just bullshit.
it's a book called Push Out, the criminalization of black girls in American schools. Young black female students are also, written up more often, getting sent home more often, suspended more often than their, white counterparts because they have bad attitudes. And so maybe if there was a little bit more teacher diversity, because, Miss Anderson understands that you might have a bad attitude. And I tell my students this all day, every day, like, look, baby girl, you got 16 years of, having a bad attitude. I got 33 years of having a bad attitude. Let's put your bad attitude up against my bad attitude any day. And typically, my female students, it's like a wolf pack, right? They recognize me as the dominant wolf in the room. Now, my male students, it takes a little bit longer for them to realize that Miss Anderson is not the one to play with, but they get it eventually. However, I think that teacher diversity, and it's so much now in education about culturally responsive curriculum and culturally responsive instruction, and just, in teacher education programs and training, giving teachers that adequate preparation for dealing with black and brown kids. Because I get, we need all the teachers we can get, so I'm not going to discriminate if you white, brown, black. I would love to see more of us in the classroom because, black teachers matter. That Facebook group, y'all need to cut me a check for just saying that. I'm sorry, I'm being silly. But, because black teachers represent, not even black teachers, representation matters in any field. So, yeah.
Well,
Wait, we got a comment.
oh, okay. Well,
Our children are generally passionate in their beliefs and values, which is usually misinterpreted. Yeah, it can be seen as being volatile. They can be seen as being hostile, threatening, having a quote-unquote bad attitude. Just because you might have something to say, but you might not know how to say it. So it might just come out because nobody has taught you how to say things. I'm 33, and I'm still learning how to respond as opposed to react. I'm still learning that because my knee jerk reaction is to cut into you. I was born and raised, I grew up in Detroit. I hate that people say I'm from Detroit and you're not really from Detroit. I grew up in Detroit.
Yes.
And so.
Podcast Detroit. Podcast. Oh my God, my microphone is dying. Like Podcast Detroit.
What about Podcast Detroit? Like it's in Detroit?
Not in
We're
Detroit.
in Royal Oak.
Well,
right
it's the
now.
Metro. It's the Metro Detroit area. So a lot of people will say, "I'm from Detroit," but they're from the Metro Detroit area, and I'm like, "No. You're from the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah.
I'm from Detroit, like DPS. Lived in Detroit, lived in the city. So it's like instinctively, I have a certain reaction to certain things because I feel threatened a lot, or I'm always on the defense. And I'm not saying that, I'm not using that as an excuse. One of my girls said, "Eastside, 7 Mile all day, 7 Mile, better mile, walking through the airport with about 100,000." Okay, I did not just quote a Blade Icewood quote on air, but once again, I'm from Detroit, and that's what we do. Anyways, I digress. But we have to understand where our students come from. That's what I'm saying.
And also, I have to keep it completely 100, as you say. Now you talk about 33 years. I'm old enough to be your daddy. I'm 61.
Yeah, my mom's 55.
Yeah,
so.
I'm 61 years old. So it's like I done seen a whole lot of shit you ain't even seen yet.
I can imagine.
Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah.
But let me say this: that a black male is the right kind of black male is extremely important in the classroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
With not just black males, but black females. Black females, because the latest statistics are that 70% of all black families are headed by one parent.
I can believe it.
No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
30%, and that's all you got is 30% with two people in the household. And so the fact that we don't have enough men, black men, but it's qualitatively speaking, not quantitatively, what kind of black man?
Yeah. Quality black male. Black
With my
educators.
junior high school students, when I walk in the room, I mean, I stay from the beginning. I'm your elder. I'm just not your teacher. I'm your elder. We're going to run this like a village. And so the first thing we watch is Roots. And I ain't talking about that old Roots from 1977. I'm talking about the new one from 2016. And we go through the whole thing. And when I'm done with that, they realize I am the elder in this room. Not I'm the authority, not I'm your boss, but I'm your elder. I'm here to lead you and guide you through manhood.
You're the source of
and
knowledge.
I want you young ladies to observe what a real man looks like. When I walk in, I'm well dressed, I'm well groomed, I talk the right things, and I speak the right things. I speak them truth to power for them. And so those kids respond to that. They want that. And so it is important, and when we talk about minorities and we use words like minorities and people of color, I'm sick of that shit.
That's political. We got to be.
I'm sick of that
But we
shit.
don't have to be politically correct. I'm so
I'm
used to
talking
being
about
politically
black
correct.
people. I'm saying we need black men in the classroom. The pay be damned and everything else. We need black men in the classroom because we need them bad because we're the ones that's going to be setting that example for these young brothers.
It's to the point
For the young
now
brothers.
where there are college of education programs. My younger brother is brilliant, and he would make a brilliant educator. And I'm telling him, like, yo, there are college of education programs right now that are paying for black males to go to school because we are in need of you. Not saying, you don't need another Miss Anderson in the classroom because, the world can always benefit from another Tori J, but we need y'all brothers in the classroom.
That's right. Strong brothers. Real
Yeah,
brothers.
we need strong brothers, and I'm not even going to...
Yeah. Don't go there.
I ain't even gonna go there.
Yeah, don't go there. But I feel you.
You know where
I
I'm.
feel. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
you got, like you said, you got to have the right male
That's
educator.
right. That's right.
Like, and you know where I'm coming from too.
Yeah. We'll leave that there.
What time is it? Do we want to take a break?
Why? Well, I got to get some more Jägermeister.
Okay. Well, we're gonna take a break. We will be right back after this. In 5. Yes? No? Maybe so? And we are back. Yes, I know that was a very short break, but I could tell that you all missed us and our enchanting conversation. So we're just going to jump right back into it. So I'm going to ask you guys this question. I'm going to let you guys kind of think about it. Do public schools prepare students to maintain the working class? So in the interview, Killer Mike, or do public schools maintain the working class? Remember at the end of the interview, Killer Mike stated that, he wants, DJ Envy was talking about private schools teach students to become billionaires. And Killer Mike was, talking about how he wanted them to, get jobs and a demand. That's why I kind of wanted to watch the video so we can remember, how public schools, he wants them to get jobs to demand a better salary and to get better wages.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. Now.
Do public schools maintain the working class? So essentially I'm asking, do public schools pump out worker bees?
First of all, I totally disagree.
I'm playing
with
devil's advocate.
I know you are.
Because I already know the answer.
What's his name? Killer Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Killer...
Mr. Killer.
Mr. Killer was full of shit on that one. Because what he's talking about is creating wage slaves. And his response to, what was the other dude?
DJ Envy.
DJ Envy was talking about billionaires, and he was talking about, well, we got to create some people that'll work for these billionaires. Mm-hmm. And so basically, he's talking almost about wage slavery, just this shy of talking about slavery, period. But he's talking about wage slaves, and I disagreed with him on that. Public schools have turned out many entrepreneurs. So I think that was.
Do we have a curriculum that encourages entrepreneurship, though, especially with test preparation, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I can say this. When I was coming up, there was something called NeoVac. Now, that was vocational training. I'm starting to see in certain public schools still have vocational training, like to own your own business, whether it's a bakery or
C-R-O-C-K-E.
Yeah. Well, hey, now let me put it in for mine. I went to Pontiac Central High School. Okay, home of the Chiefs.
So you didn't go to school in Detroit. So wait, you're not from Detroit?
No, I'm from the Yak, baby.
He's from the
I'm from the
surrounding
Yickety
area.
Yak. I'm from the Yak,
Okay,
baby.
all right,
Yak town in the house.
Okay, we'll let Pontiac have their moment.
Their moment. Shit, what you talking about? Pontiac was the shit. It ain't no more.
What about you? What about you, Laura? What do you feel? How do you feel about that? What he said? How did that sit with you?
It didn't sit well because as an alumni of Crockett, having to go to a vocational school, I looked at him like, you know what, I could start my own T-shirt business because I was in graphic design. And that's what I went home and did. I started doing T-shirts.
Did you have Mr. McGee?
Yes. I started
Yeah,
doing,
we had him. We was out there.
Because he was the drafting teacher at one time, right? Okay. Yeah.
Well, I was in photography, so.
Okay.
He was over it. But I started doing T-shirts. I started doing calendars, and I was selling them. I was looking at it as a hustler. I'm like, you know what? I could do this to make money now. I don't have to wait till I got to school. I can
So
do this
imagine what you could have done with that had you attended a school where there was a curriculum that guided you into that. Or one thing that DJ Envy said that really bothered me is he said this school, these kids become billionaires or millionaires. Well,
They're
some
trust
of them
fund babies.
That's what I'm saying. Some of them already got money.
They trumping.
That's what I'm saying. So
They're doing the Trump
that's
thing.
the same thing. I have a problem with people saying Kylie Jenner is self-made. She's
Lies.
not self-made. She comes from a family that already had a pre-established pocket of wealth.
Yes.
So you're not doing anything except building upon that wealth. Like you already here. You just building on that. We down here. Self-made for me.
He was
is
at the
when
40-yard line with the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Right.
If you starting from the bottom, that's self-made.
Yes.
And so I would be impressed if you took a kid from Detroit and took him to Country Day, and that kid became a millionaire. Not if you had a Country Day kid whose mom went to Country Day and their granddad went to Country Day, and they got
Legacy
a whole
baby.
library. You got a whole legacy baby, and I'll tell y'all about my Country Day story in a minute.
Then
Yeah.
after that, I'm gonna throw some salt in the game.
So what you mean to salt?
Well, just go
well,
and finish your
look,
story.
I'm a little worried. But no,
worry.
I'm not impressed by somebody who becomes a millionaire when they come from millionaires. That's easy. That's generational wealth, which is something we still trying to create. We're just now probably, when I say we, I mean, Black people. We are probably just now getting to the point where we can begin to create generational wealth. hundreds of years later. That's a whole nother. Let me even not go off onto that tangent. True story, Country Day. When I was in the 8th grade, one of my teachers thought it was a brilliant idea to tell my mother to have me take the test to get into Country Day. So my mother took me to, Beverly Hills, Michigan, to take this test to go to Country Day. And I remember this day vividly in my brain. I remember going into this room. I remember each of us sitting at a round circular table. I remember going to the bathroom before the test even started, because I'm nervous. I got the BGs. I'm taking the test to go to Country Day.
That's a very special moment.
Yeah, sorry. That was a little. That might have been too graphic.
Very special moment.
Probably see if we can delete that out. Probably not. No, he said no. Sorry. See, this is where my mouth gets me in trouble. But I'm sitting I'm in the bathroom. I'm nervous, and I'm in the bathroom, and 2 girls walk in. And I don't think they realized I was in the bathroom. But, I'm ear hustling because I want to know, what it's like. They got on, their little Country Day shirts and shorts and everything. And one of them says, "Did you see how many of them are out there? Like, I wonder how many are coming on scholarships." And I didn't know who they were because they never said they, but I knew they meant me, because I knew that my mom, so I guess DPS had this thing, if you tested, you got into Country Day, they would offer some kind of partial scholarship, or there was some opportunity for a partial scholarship. And I don't know where my mom was going to get the rest of the money from, but, if her daughter had the opportunity to go to Country Day, she was going to make sure I took my black ass to Country Day.
Right.
And I remember hearing that, and so I went back out to the table, and I sat at that table the entire time, and I didn't take that test. I didn't pick up that pen. I didn't pick up that paper. She tried Regina. She tried Dominican, and I did the same exact thing at all 3. Because I felt, even as was I 13 going on 14, as a 13, 14-year-old, I didn't want to be any place where I was going to be looked upon as a charity case or looked upon as I didn't belong. And so I'm thinking about that. When I think about like sending our kids to private schools, I know that, they get a better education, and you think they get a better education or more high quality education, but do they belong? Do they feel that sense of belonging? I just think that's interesting.
It depends on where that school is located. Mm-hmm. So
like you said with your babies.
Yeah. I drive from the suburbs to Detroit to make sure that they're around their own so that they can see a black teacher. They could see black classmates. There's a couple of other, children in there that's Hispanic, Indian, Caucasian, all of that. But primarily at the school, I could say like 97% is black. So I'm like, okay, I prefer for them to go here because they see their own versus them going out there where we're at. Because where I live at, I don't want nobody walking into my kids' pre-K classroom with a gun or into their school with a gun, because it seems like the chances, like you said, for it to happen in a suburb versus in the hood, we won't have that in the hood. They know we don't play those games.
Until you leave out the school.
Yeah, now, that's different.
Until you get in the parking lot.
All things being equal, your ass is grass either way.
There you got Ray Sean waiting in the parking lot.
Or Ray Pookie and Junebug and them. But
why we got to give him the stereotypical name?
I did.
Ray Sean. I was trying.
But let me throw some salt in this game, because the salt is that as black folks, this is the one thing that irritates me the most, that we think that that's why the Steve Harveys of the world and these other people of the world who have made money, we hold them up as examples of what a brother ought to be. Steve Harvey's the most unconscious Uncle Tom I've seen up there. He's just a smiling buffoon. And the same thing with some of these other black comedians that are out there. And so if we create black millionaires just for the sake of what they're a millionaire, now they're successful. I would rather see a brother that's making $80,000 a year, but he's conscious. I'm
trying to make $80,000 a year.
Right,
like you saying that like that's
I'm just saying $80,000 as a medium.
Can I get to 80?
I'm just saying as a medium to saying being a millionaire.
Yeah.
Because $80,000 people
you don't have to
live
be a millionaire to be
$80,000.
successful.
Right.
But my point is, if he's making $50,000, it's like we make these quantitative analysis of black progress instead of a qualitative analysis. And to me, a brother who is unconscious, who opens up a store in the community and does the same thing to the community that the Chaldean guy might do, or Korean nail people might do, and hair, and if you're no different than the rest.
Yeah.
It's like, are you conscious? Are you not? Are you
And
for?
are you for us?
Are you for our liberation or not? Because if you think that we're liberated, we're not. You think so? If he's not for that, then it's the kind of black person that we have, and not just the fact that he's a millionaire.
Like you said again, the kind,
Yeah.
like
Look
with
at
the kind of
OJ.
male.
OJ was a millionaire. OJ was the
Oh,
biggest Uncle Tom,
Lord.
a huge Uncle Tom. Look at
OJ,
the other Uncle
OJ,
Toms we
OJ.
got out here.
Jay-Z
House,
said-
as they say, house niggas. So I mean, the bottom line is we don't have qualitative conversations about what kind of people we put up there.
Jay-Z said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. All right, let's see. I got...
Glad this show ain't 2 hours because the more Jaeger, the more really gets.
Oh, wow. So this is what Killer Mike said at the end. If all these millionaires are going to private school, someone is going to have to work for them. And I want to demand a greater salary. Is there anything wrong with that, though, for wanting to demand a greater salary?
No, you have to know your worth. Because if you think about it, a lot of the millionaires, they probably know how to run the business, but they don't know how can I put this? They're the visionaries. So if you look at like a true visionary, they can just see something as a vision, but they don't have the capacity mentally to actually,
To knock
see
it
it
out,
through.
do the work.
So for me, I didn't finish school because college wasn't for me, but I could go in to my company and demand a higher salary because I've taken up a trade or I have these licenses up under my belt. So you're going to pay me more because I'm doing what you don't know how to do. You could go out there and pay somebody else and they're going to mess your shit up.
So there are a lot. I think there's this new shift in education. You see the ads on the freeway all the time. We're promoting trades a lot, which I'm 100% down with promoting trades. However, I don't think that we should just be promoting trades to students who go to schools in urban areas.
No, they should be everywhere. I think they should be
I
everywhere.
personally feel that this trade push is just in urban public schools. I can't speak to what's going on in West Bloomfield and Troy and
So now
Grosse Pointe North and Grosse Pointe
We're
South.
digging up the old Booker T. Washington W.B. Du Bois argument
Yeah,
again.
that's
Is what
my
we're
thing.
doing. The talented 10th verse. What Booker T. was saying is that we need to grow people who can do these kinds of
Yeah.
skills. So we're here. We are 150 years later, whatever it was.
But is it still?
back with
It's
Booker
still,
T. and W.B. again?
It's still going on though.
Well, yeah,
It's
but
still
I mean, when you
relevant.
look at skilled trades back in the from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, skilled trades were good because the black folks came from the agrarian South to work in the industrialized North in the automobile manufacturing plants.
Yeah.
My father came up here from Cordova, Alabama, to work in the plant,
Yeah, my
and everybody
granddad,
else
too.
did too.
Yep.
So now that that's over and that's done with. And we talk about trades, we have to talk about all different kinds of trades.
yes.
And we have to talk about trades that haven't been, like, look, what's going on right here?
Yeah.
This dude right here, I don't know if he got a college diploma or not, but this is a trade.
Yep. And it's a skill.
Okay, podcasting, they got this building in here, and this building was not always
That's
a
what
podcast
I'm saying.
building.
I want
It was
my
probably a
kids to be
bakery
able
or
to
some
tap
shit.
into stuff
And they
like
opened
this.
this up.
Yep.
So when you talk about trade, we could talk about opening up new kinds of trades within this technological society that we're
Especially
in. You can create a trade.
With the social media influencers, like people
Right.
create
Yes.
jobs for themselves every day. Those are the kind of trades
Right.
I want my kids to have.
You got a
access.
college degree, man? Do you have a college degree? Okay. All right. What is it in?
It's the mic.
Okay.
Medic.
It's a
Well,
technical.
just tell me and I'll use
It's
my
a technical difficulty. We got it.
It's in microphone
You don't have
repair.
to tell us on air.
Microphone repair. Anyway.
It's not.
Okay. I'm sorry I posed that.
My degree is in Spanish literature.
Oh, see there? Now see there?
So
See that?
originally,
But this is his trade now.
well, we don't have to want to be on air.
Originally, I was going to be a high school Spanish teacher.
Didn't you just hear us saying it's a teacher shortage, man? What you doing?
Yeah, but this is cool, ain't it?
I don't like the repetitiveness of classroom style teaching.
It's a shortage.
I know.
So I have a question.
I
About
make
that.
e-learning content professionionally. This is just my side gig. So I
This
do
is a side hustle, so you still in education.
still in education.
So you on a whole Teacher Talk podcast, and you never even told me that you went to.
Because nobody ever asked. I did.
True story. Thank you.
There you go. I asked him what it is. You know, I want to know about people. I'm Columbo.
All right, we got another quote from Killer Mike from the interview. Most schools teach students to take a test. Are public schools more standardized test-centered, do we think, than private schools?
Are we doing this thing again?
Nope, you can just talk. Just throw the whole game away. I killed a lot of trees for these.
I say public school, yes. For the simple fact that when I was in private school, I didn't have to take all these standardized tests that I hear kids taking today. You know,
Nobody
took,
tests
like,
more than
tests.
people in America
Yeah, that too.
on an international level.
And we're one of the dumbest countries.
We are the lowest
Dumb as hell.
performing, one of the lower performing countries in education, and we take all these standardized assessments.
I remember Jay Leno, when the Tonight Show was on, he used to go out in the public with a microphone and ask college students questions at basic. I'm talking about basic shit. I'm talking about like
Don't ask me no math shit,
Like-
because
like-
I'm sound real.
I mean, when I
remedial.
say basic shit, I'm talking about basic, like who's the vice president, or I mean, just and they were, and these are college people. They were. This country is really, 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 really dumb in a lot of ways.
Well, was it a late night on a college night? Because I'm just
No,
saying, if it was a
they were
late,
out.
it was in the middle of
it
the
was a late
day.
Friday,
You
I'm
can
just
see all the
saying-
palm trees in the
Sun
background. The
was
sun
so
was
pretty.
shining.
I'm just saying,
in
if
the
it's
background.
a late Friday, Saturday night, and you a college Thursday night even, and then you a college kid.
Did I? Oh, I got it working.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, meanwhile, Finland does no standardized testing, and there's
None
some
at all.
of the,
Finland is
That's right.
shitting on
No,
us.
and yeah.
Finland, Sweden.
Say that, man.
yeah, Finland is amazing in education, and they turned it around in the last 20, 30 years.
That's right.
And their teachers have a salary that rivals their doctors and their attorneys.
Yes.
Imagine that, getting paid for your education level and your experience.
And you can even look at countries like Sweden. I mean, on and on. I mean, it's like
That was sarcasm. Imagine getting paid your worth. I'm sorry. I just felt some kind of way about that. It is 7:29. I am out of questions.
well, let's just talk. I mean, how much time you got left?
30 minutes. Let's
Oh, well,
just,
shoot, we can
let's
do
just
this.
shoot the shit.
You don't have to use the whole time. If
I
you
do
don't
not have
need
to use it. All right, let's
I
not-
mean, you're paying for it, but if you're out of conversation, don't drag it out just because.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. I don't want that on air.
I'm always full.
Anybody else? So, like I said, I really wish we would have been able to watch the video and then kind of stop and discuss. But, in education, we got to be flexible. We got to shift. We got to, change things. I just really wanted to give people just kind of the platform to just kind of air out their feelings about this whole public versus private issue, especially now that it's a real issue, with education being privatized nationally. The next episode, I kind of want to talk about public schools versus charter schools. Well, not even versus, because, we're all in this together, this education game. Sarcasm again. You guys can't see my face. But as teachers or as parents or as administrators, I don't want us to be divided when it comes to education, but I do want us to, just air the shit out, because we're not the same. We're not cut the same. We're not built the same. We don't deal with the same issues. But I also don't like it when people say that one is better than the other, because we're kind of we in it together.
But don't you think that, because we keep looking at education in a vacuum. We look at education as...
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm about to explain. That education is somehow not a microcosm of the larger picture. When we look at just American society in general, education is just a microcosm of the entire system.
And it's very low on the totem pole.
Well, it might be low on the totem pole in one sense, but I mean, education is how the state delivers its mandate to people. How you create automatons. How you create
Citizens.
subservient people.
Yeah.
Well, no, not citizens. Subservient people to the agenda of the state.
That's why I asked, do we think that public schools kind of maintain the working class?
Well, yeah, but maybe a more broader question would be: do public schools and private schools maintain the agenda of the state in general? I mean, the state's agenda is to create people who are subservient to that agenda.
Yeah.
And that agenda is to create people who pay these taxes,
contributing members
and
of society.
right.
We want people to contribute to capitalism, to our capitalistic society.
Right, but also, I mean, it funds the very things that are against the people. So, I mean,
For example,
the police. Ooh, crickets. The police. I mean, look, the police and
NWA.
the police and the black
I said NWA.
But you got to go back though. You got to go back to the paddle rollers on the plantation, and look how the P's continue to go. Paddle roller, and then it became patrolman, and then police.
Well, the
Those
Klan,
3 P's, and the agenda has always been the same: to control. Now, in the white community, it's to preserve and protect and blah 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 blah. I'm a fully degreed, highly educated black man with no warrants, no nothing. When the police get behind me, my ass puckers up as tight as a snare drum. I'm like this.
Literally?
Yeah. Well, not literally. Well, I don't know. I'm next time the police get behind me, I'm gonna check my ass and see how it does. If it puckers up like a snare drum, then I'll go brrr on
Like
the
a
top of
snare
it.
drum. That's a nice
do
simile.
some
nice
paradiddles.
music simile.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm a musician.
Look, in an English teacher, I'm like, that's a nice simile.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered. But the bottom line is that
You shouldn't feel that way.
I feel what? No, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel that
No,
way.
I shouldn't.
And I know you do. And,
do.
You know, sister to brother.
And I got a lot of mouth, too, so.
Yeah. Well, see, we just watched The Hate You Give in my classroom the other day.
You know
I
that's
showed it to all
my
my
book.
kids. Yeah.
I taught that book at, I taught it for did they see it? No. Did you have any of my former students?
No.
Oh, you got middle schoolers. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no. Last year I was in the high school. Remember, I taught high school.
Well, here's a shameless plug. Next time you teach it, I have a Hate You Give unit on Teachers Pay Teachers. Check it out.
Better yet, just send it to me.
I didn't like the movie.
I hated the movie.
I hated the movie.
In comparison to the book,
the book was
the
so
movie
much
was
better.
trash.
Okay. Well, first of all, I thought the acting was bad. Just from a performance standpoint, I thought the acting was bad. I thought it was corny.
was.
I thought the whole store scene of burning down the store and pouring the milk on your face and her standing giving that ridiculous speech to the crowd. You know,
wasn't supposed to
I
be
get
like
that.
that.
I get that. But the students, there was enough in that movie for the students to identify, particularly the scene where my man got killed by the police,
Khalil, yeah.
reaching for his hairbrush. Okay. And so it was enough for us to have some very courageous conversations about police brutality and its role. And we had just finished watching Roots, the whole series. So we saw this.
So they was already charged.
Well, what we saw was a continuum.
Yeah.
Modern
day.
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, someone I respect highly out of Howard University, said there's never been a second, a minute, an hour, a day, a month, a year, a decade, and a century since 1619 that we have not lived under institutionalized white supremacy. And so when you really think about the fact that this continuum has just changed faces, changed roles,
In
the
our
same
school
dance,
system.
different partners, pockets of the same pants. It never has changed. And so the role of the police has always been to control and maintain. And we get killed every day by the police, and it's gotten to the point where we don't get no more respect than a deer during November, during hunting season.
They get more respect than we do because if you shoot one that's
Out of
hunting
season,
it's
your ass is going to jail.
going to
You shoot
jail.
one of us it's always in season. It's been that way since 1619.
You going to jail.
And we got to be real. We got to stop being afraid to talk about what's real.
Yeah.
And we're afraid. Black
But
folks
some
is mostly
people
are scared.
Some people it makes them uncomfortable. Some people
Well,
talking about
ain't no-
things. Some people feel powerless, and so they feel that why even exert that energy
Really?
to talk about. Some people feel very powerless
Yeah.
to change shit.
Yeah, well.
But I'm like, you got, and I
I'm
would tell
glad
my
Malcolm
students.
didn't feel that way, or King, or
Yeah.
Marcus Garvey.
And so one of the things, and when I taught The Hate You Give, one of the most important themes or the messages I felt from that book
Fred Hampton.
was, she talked a lot about the Black Panthers in the book. One of the most important themes I feel from that book is speaking up and using your voice. People don't even realize the power that your voice has and just speaking up.
In the classroom in particular.
Yes, I tell people all the time, I said, I have an agenda.
Yeah.
All day, every day in the classroom. I have an agenda, and my agenda is to create. I'm not, like Tupac said, I can't promise that I'm going to be the one to change the world, but I can promise you I'm going to spark the mind that changes the world. I pinky promise you I will. And that's my purpose. That's why I get up every morning and do what it is that I do. Public or private school teacher, public school teacher over here doing it. With that being said, I think this is a great note to end on.
Yeah, it's cool.
good.
Thank you guys for joining me today or this evening. Is it today or this evening?
What difference does it make? We're on vacation. What difference
Right,
does it make?
exactly. I don't want to know what day it is until next
My man
Sunday.
getting hyped up on Mountain Dew, and he just had a you ought to be floating out of here.
You got another pod. Well,
No, this is the last one for the night, but
Okay.
I like caffeine.
Yeah, I can dig it.
Well, thank you guys for listening in. If this is your first time joining us for Teacher Talk Podcast, make sure you check out episodes 1. I think it was called Shit I Wish I Would Have Learned About Teaching. In episode 2, Evaluate These. This is episode 3, Public versus Private Education. We will be back next month. Same time, same place. Thanks, guys, for listening in.